Thank you so much. Thank you, Robin. I am wrestling tonight with saying one last goodbye to a cherished friend. As you can tell by those who have spoken so lovingly about Pat before me, I don't have any monopoly on insights into this magnificent and rare woman. Somehow I think it's ironic that we're celebrating the memory of Pat tonight when it was this terrible disease that stripped her of her memory and ultimately her life. Ironic that the Coliseum is filled with people who want nothing more than to remember every word, every glance, every victory, every loyal gesture Pat Summitt shared with the world. It is a rarity to attend a celebration of life service for someone who literally changed history. But that's what we're doing here tonight. Pat Summitt didn't just change the history of Tennessee basketball or make this arena notable well beyond the borders of this state. She changed the history of the sport she loved and of sports in general. She almost single-handedly made women's sports relevant, well beyond mothers and daughters, sisters and grandmothers. Heck, every Tennessee football player including me, would have been proud to have been coached by Pat Summitt. And when she keynoted the Tennessee Annual Football Spring Clinic a number of years ago, Coach David Cutcliffe will tell you that she mesmerized that day a room full of crusty football coaches like no other speaker has done before or since. And when Pat finished, Coach Cut said she got the greatest standing ovation of anyone, including legendary coaches like Bo Schembechler and Pat Dye. And if you ask how close Pat and I were, all I can tell you is this: I don't have anybody else's memorabilia in my office. An exception, I have 2 basketballs autographed to my son Marshall and my daughter Mosley. The Sharpie signature reads, Coach Pat Summitt. We had a special bond, a bond between 2 friends, a bond between 2 proud ambassadors for this university that we both loved. Our bond was forged in part by the searing heat of competition which drove us. That bond was colored by Tennessee orange and rang out to the tune of Rocky Top. 19 years ago, I came to see Pat Summitt deciding whether I should stay for my junior or senior year, and I sat in her office for 2 hours. She giving me great advice on what she thought I should do. As a coach and as a person, Pat did more than outthink uncertainty and stare down competitors. She stared down doubts. If you were recruited by Pat and her staff, it was like a casting call for greatness. She epitomized the Lady Vols. More than that, and because of her actions, she gave new depth and dimension to the word lady. Her memory should be like the perfect game plan that drives every one of us to fiercely go after our dreams, no matter what opposition gets in our way, and to do it with as much grace as ferocity, and in the end, to generate respect for the way we went after it with abandon. Pat's words may have inspired, but it won't be those words that embody her greatness or that she will be remembered for most. She and the great Sally Jenkins wrote a handful of best-selling books that many of us have read. But I seriously doubt that it will be Pat's thoughts captured on paper that will echo most for people years from now. If you ask me, Pat's true greatness was in her actions. The way she walked onto that court and commanded the sidelines, the way her presence electrified and her stare quieted a room. It was the substance of her life, her example, that will resonate most. I had the honor to introduce Pat as the recipient of ESPN's 2012 Arthur Ashe Award for Courage. Pat Summitt epitomized courage. All she needed to hear was there was a challenge ahead for her to defy expectations. She was a teacher, on and off the court. Even after her diagnosis, she refused to shy away from her own vulnerability. She insisted that, like her record-setting basketball victories, she would win this life battle with the help of others. When I returned to Knoxville throughout the years, or Pat would travel to Indianapolis to see Tamika play for the Indiana Fever, we'd make a point to get together over a steak and a beer. Last summer, I was in Knoxville, and I knew that Pat wasn't doing so well. Coach Fulmer and I decided to drive over to visit our old friend. We knew she probably wouldn't know our names, and she didn't, but that wasn't the point. Pat smiled a lot as we sat and spent time with her, and she seemed to just enjoy having our company. We didn't know if it even mattered that we were there, but deep inside, we both hoped it would. 2 weeks ago, at Pat's funeral, Shamiqua Holtzclaw and I caught up with each other again. She, like so many of Pat's former players, stayed in close contact with her. Shamiqua told me that even as Pat's memory continued to fade, if Pat saw one of my games or commercials on TV, she pointed at the screen and said, "That's my friend. He comes to visit me. There goes my friend." 2 weeks ago at her gravesite, the tears rolled down my cheeks. After I left, I got a text from Sally Jenkins that reminded me of Pat's words to anyone in enough agony to come crying to her. With a nudge full of kindness and a move-on mentality, she'd tell them, "Toughen up, Buttercup." Well, I challenge each of you here tonight to unleash the power of friends, of telling everyone you know that there is hope of getting a handle on this crippling disease. But it will take all of us and many more. If you can, honor the memory of this woman that we love and admire by supporting the Pat Summitt Foundation and the Alzheimer's Clinic built in her name. Because when all of us are forgotten, the world will remember our friend, Pat Summitt. Just take a look around this room. There are lots of tears, and yes, I feel the sting of my own.